Chapter 69. This venerable one will learn from you. Was it a coincidence? Or... Presently, Moran couldn't just look at his shizun's chest whenever he wanted, so he could only rely on his memory of that scar's appearance. That faint, crescent moon shape would have been left by the simple slash of a blade, not like Chu Chun's wound, which had been made by 5 fingers, piercing flesh with force and left behind savage bloody holes. It wasn't the same after all. Moran let out a quiet sigh of relief as he thought it over. While Chu Chun and Chu Wanning were wholly different people in terms of personality, they shared too many points of resemblance to dismiss, from their appearances to the mutual principle of, as a cultivator, the life of the many is our priority, the self comes last, to that long scar on their chest. So many coincidences piled on top of one another made one suspicious. Moran wasn't exactly sure why. Perhaps it was because Chu Chun was so gentle, so different from Chu Wanning's ruthlessness. Or perhaps it was because Chu Chun had a wife and a son. But if Chu Chun had reincarnated into Chu Wanning, or if he was Chu Wanning, Moran was sure that he wouldn't be able to take it, that he would have a breakdown. Good thing that wasn't the case. There is no need to expand on what manner of disaster the city of Lin'An faced without Chu Chun's presence. Of course, the Ghost King didn't keep his word. Once night fell, the air was thick with blood, and heaven and earth mourned in kind. The moat ran red with gore, and the howling of those still living, who had long lost their senses, echoed through the night. Zombies wandered throughout the city, picking at and devouring fresh, tender entrails, chomping down on brains. Moran took Chu Wanning to hide in a broken-down little house whose master had died some time ago. Everything within it lay under a heavy layer of dust. Moran tightly shut the door and secured the surroundings. He left only a small kitchen window through which they could observe the situation in the city. From outside, there came intermittent sharp wails and screams, and the ominous sounds of chewing and swallowing. Moran carried Chu Wanning to a small pile of firewood in the corner and patted his head. According to Miss 18, once we defeat the Ghost King, we can leave, so stay here and be good. Don't run off anywhere. Chu Wanning's head jerked up at this. You're going out? Not right now. I'll leave once the Ghost King shows himself. But it's too dangerous outside. The illusion has been manifested. How will you manage on your own? Well, I can't bring a kid with me to fight, can I? Chu Wanning shook his head. I'm coming with you. She is so cute, but you're still young. If you come with me, you'll drag me down. Wait till you're older, and when we run into these things again, I won't hold you back. For now, you have to listen to Shishong. I won't drag you down. That's what they all say. Just be good and don't fuss, okay? Chu Wanning fell silent. When Chu Wanning finally stopped talking, Moran quietly let out a sigh of relief. He turned his gaze through the wooden window to peer outside, his expression growing serious. Just why had the illusion meant for their training suddenly become real? His little Shidi was right. Someone wanted to harm him. In his previous life, there had no doubt been countless people who wanted him dead. But in this life, he had yet to cross any powerful swords. After giving it due consideration, he could think of only one person who might want to take his life, that fake Gojin from Jincheng Lake. What was the real identity of that false Gojin? If he could use the Chenlong chess formation with such mastery, how come he'd never demonstrated his talents in their previous lifetime? Could it be that Moran wasn't the only person in this world who'd been reborn? The thought gave him chills, and his eyes glinted menacingly. After rebirth, he'd wanted nothing more than to bury his past, but if someone else had been reborn, that might become quite difficult. His brows were furrowed, but he suddenly heard Chu Wanning speak up again. Moran, What is it? Xiaoman gritted his teeth silently. After considering the pros and cons, he steeled his heart and decided he might as well be straight and tell the truth.
Listen to me. In fact, I really can help you.
However, when Moran heard, "I really can help you," he assumed his little Shidi wanted to argue with him again, so he cut him off. All right. I already said I won't let you go, so I'm not letting you go. Stop trying to play tough. Listen to me."
No, you listen to me.
"I'm not listening," Moran replied, feeling vexed. "I'm not listening, la 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 la." Xiaoman gave him a dark look. The expression gave Moran pause. Maybe the attitude he was taking wasn't very nice. So he poked a finger between Xiaoman's brows and laughed. "You're a kid. What's with all this deep, tormented suffering and refusing to listen to your seniors? Here, let me tell you something. Since you call me Shishong and we come from the same sect, when we run into peril like this, I have to protect you, at all costs. Do you understand?" Xiaoman shut his eyes and answered in a low voice. "I understand." "Good to see you do. Then why don't you—"
"But I'm worried about you."
Moran was taken aback, and for a second, the finger that hung before Xiaoman's forehead quivered. For another second, he couldn't utter a single word. He had lived for 2 lifetimes, but never had anyone said the words, "I'm worried about you," to him. Even in Ximei's moments of tenderness toward him, he had never so straightforwardly expressed his care for Moran. Moran gazed with amazement at the tiny child sitting atop the pile of firewood before him, and hundreds of emotions filled his heart. After a long while, his eyes gradually softened. The finger he had used to poke Xiaoman lifted, and instead moved to ruffle his Shidi's soft hair. "Don't worry, Shishong promises you that he'll come back alive and well."
"Moran, can you let me finish?"
Moran grinned. "All right, what did you want to say?"
"I'm actually—"
The door crashed open with a bang. A man with disheveled hair charged in, screaming and covered in gore, one thigh mauled to shreds. Behind him was a band of zombies, lured by the stench of blood. The man tumbled into the room, dragging his ripped leg, and grabbed at anything he could get his hands on. He hurled the objects at the growling zombies, and as he threw, he yelled, "Fuck off! Get the hell away from me! Go away! Go the fuck away!" Moran cursed under his breath and shielded Xiaoman with his body. A red light flashed from his hand as he summoned Jiangui. "Shidi, hide yourself," he said over his shoulder. "Don't get any closer, not under any circumstances." Then he attacked with vine in hand and started to slaughter the mob of corpses that had invaded the house. Although Jiangui and Tianwen were similar, Xiaoman hadn't yet fully passed on his technique to Moran, and in Moran's past life, the weapon he wielded had been a blade. He thus wasn't used to supple weapons, so while at the beginning of the slaughter he held his own, it gradually became clear that he didn't quite have the finesse to match his determination. Jiangui swung all over the place. Suddenly, the voice of a child cut in, crisp and cool.
"Left side, wrap it around your wrist and strike 3 times, then jump in the air and swing around your back to sling it out."
Moran had no time to think and just followed the instructions. The willow vine ripped the body of a zombie on the left, and with a single strike, the holy weapon broke the zombie's arm, exposing its bones. Normally, no one would think it necessary to whip it twice more, but since the little Shidi had told him to do so, Moran figured he might as well give it a try. No harm, no foul. Thus, he immediately struck the zombie again twice, then jumped up and bent nimbly at the waist, flipped, and slung out the vine whip straight behind his back. Slash! Quite coincidentally, the next wave of corpses happened to swarm in, and Jiangui, which had accumulated 3 times the power, lashed out a stream of blazing fire that blasted toward them. The band of corpses was instantly lacerated by the brutal holy weapon, and every zombie lost their head. Their skulls dropped to the ground, still letting off black smoke. Moran was dumbfounded. He sent a shocked glance at the cool little Shidi sitting on top of a firewood pile. This kid, he's pretty good. What next? Moran asked excitedly, newly energized.
Next, use your left hand and pat at your right sleeve.
Chuaning instructed him expressionlessly. Ooh, this action is deep and indiscernible. What move is this?
Nothing deep and indiscernible about it,
Chuaning said flatly.
You were swinging too confidently earlier, and the weapon lit your sleeve on fire, that's all.
Moran let out an "ah" and looked down. Sure enough, that was the case, and he hastily patted out the fire Jiangui had started in the chaos. This guy's face sure was thick. He didn't feel remotely awkward, and he even looked up with a goofy grin. My Shidi is amazing. I like it. Chuaning softly cleared his throat and silently turned his face away to stare at the bare grey walls, his ears faintly red. By now, only 6 zombies in the house could still move. Chuaning didn't want to look at Moran any longer, so with his head still turned away, he instructed the wall.
Loosen your wrist, swing the vine toward the sky, twirl it 6 times to gain power, and then slash like the character 1.
Moran followed the instructions, but when he twirled the 5th round, he suddenly wondered. How do you slash like the character 1?
Just slash how you normally would with a sword.
Ah, I see. Moran was enlightened and struck down with a blow. The blazing fires shone, and it was as if that soft and supple vine had blazed into an indestructible long blade, slashing through the 6 corpses in a single swing. Whoa! This time, Moran's eyes were so wide that they were practically round. Where did you learn this? How come I feel like you're almost familiar and practiced with the vine whip as my shizun? No, maybe you're even better. He never told me the things you taught me today. Chuaning said nothing. Moran's smile widened. Good. This is great. Now I won't have to deal with his attitude anymore because I learned from you. Won't that be much better? Chuaning shot him a glare.
You have a problem with the Yuheng Elder's attitude? Why don't you have a problem with my attitude?
Moran withdrew the vine whip and shut the door anew before pulling a table over to block the entrance. He laughed. You giving me a hard time is your way of being good to me. The 2 of us, we've technically gone through hardships together now. Shishong remembers how good you've been to him. From now on, I'll dote on you like my own little brother, and never mind your attitude. Even if you were to get upset and hit me a couple of times, I wouldn't get mad. Chuaning's face darkened.
Who wants to be your little brother?
Then he hopped down from that pile of firewood, unwilling to pay Moran any more attention, and went to check on the injuries of the man who had barged in. Unexpectedly, Chuaning took one look at him, and his eyes widened a touch. It's him? Who? Moran looked over curiously too, and was also stunned. That Xiaoman fellow? The one lying in a pool of blood and groaning in tears was indeed Xiaoman. He had suffered grave injuries, and after looking him over, Chuaning shook his head.
Humans and ghosts were never meant to live in harmony. I imagine the Ghost King stopped caring for him once he lived out his use. He really
deserved it, Moran said. Chuaning gave him a look. Moran laughed shortly, but with a jolt, he felt a little guilty. If he were to start calling people deserving, wasn't he himself the one who deserved retribution more than anyone? He changed the subject. Oh yeah, what was it you wanted to tell me earlier? That you're actually what? Chuaning lowered his eyelashes, paused, and said softly,
I'm actually...
Before he could finish, he felt a breeze behind his back. Chuaning startled and whipped around, ready to fight. However, he was in the body of a child, and his strength was far from that of a grown man. When he was seized by the throat, he couldn't struggle free. Somehow, Xiaoman had hauled himself up from the pool of his blood in a single breath. Veins protruded from the back of his hands as he held Chuaning's neck in a deadly grip. The other hand twisted and locked Chuaning's arms in place. It was as if a wild flame burned within that filthy, unkempt face. His entire form twisted in his desperation to live, like a wax figure distorted by intense heat. His eyes were bloodshot as he croaked at Moran. "Get me out of here. Let him go. Get me out of here." Xiaoman snarled furiously, his eyes practically cracking at the edges in his rage. "Oh, I'll kill him. Go!" "If you want me to save you, then I'll save you. What are you doing threatening a child? Let him go first." "Keep talking and I'll kill him. I've already committed so many sins. What's one more? Are you getting me out of here or not?" Jiwanning couldn't utter a sound because of the stranglehold, and his delicate little face grew red and strained. Moran panicked at the sight. If he struck now, he could take Xiaoman's life. But this illusion had become reality. If Xiaoman exploded in fury before Moran could move, his shidi might get terribly hurt. Fine, I'll listen to you," Moran said. "Don't get riled up, just loosen your hand a bit and I'll—" Before he could finish, blood splattered.